Hey guys, how we doing and how we feeling today? Okay, so on this episode we're gonna talk about Lewis Capaldi's second studio album titled Broken by Desire to Be Heavenly Sent. Now, before we get into it, you may be asking, who is Lewis Capaldi? Well, he's perhaps best known for his hits Someone You Loved and Before You Go. Now, prior to album release, we had three singles: Forget Me, Pointless, and Wish You the Best. Now, the album itself is 43 minutes long, so it's like your standard listening session run through time. So let's get into it. Now, the first track, Forget Me, this is the lead single and also the opening track. This is the most radio-friendly song on the album, which makes it ideal as the lead single. Lewis kickstarts the album with a vocally stellar song that demands the listener's attention. And Lewis sings about being dumped by someone and that person moving on and going on to be happier than she was with him. Now, track number 2, Wish You the Best, the first of my highlights on the album. This is the third single. This song sounds reminiscent of Before You Go. Lewis slows things down with this beautiful piano ballad. Lewis's powerhouse vocals are this song's biggest strength. And while this is a song about a person, whether that be a lover or a friend, that you were close to at some point in your life, and with time you hear and see what they've been up to without you. You struggle between wanting to know how they are and what they are doing, and the part of you that dies inside when you find out that perhaps they have already moved on, or about the aspects of their life where you're no longer in the picture. It's a song about the things that we don't say to those people. Sometimes there are things we wish to say to them, but we choose not to, whether it be because of fear of rejection or out of respect for that person who can no longer be in your life for whatever the reason may be. Now, track number 3, Pointless, another one of my standout tracks on the album. This is the second single, and this is a song about being in love and everything that entails. What Lewis is describing sounds a lot like how one acts when they're in the honeymoon phase with someone. You're fascinated by just about every single detail about that person, quite like being blinded by love. And let me just add that I find this song highly relatable because I think we've all been through this at least one time in our lives, at least once. You, as I've described right now, you are falling in love with this new person and you really can't see anything wrong with them. Well, not literally like that, but almost. And you're being blinded by love. You don't see anything wrong with them and you just feel like they're like the best person you've ever met. Now, track number 4, Heavenly Kind of State of Mind, another one of my highlights, an undoubtable high point in the album, and this is a song about being saved by a partner. Now, track number 5, Haven't You Ever Been in Love Before? This song sounds reminiscent of someone you loved, and Lewis sings about unrequited love with a girl who rejects him because love hurts. For this very reason, she doesn't wish to get hurt no matter how much the idea of falling in love sounds like it takes the pain away. Now, track number 6, Love the Hell Out of You. This is a song about loving someone so much, as well as the idea of someone loving so much that they've managed to take away everything that you're going through. Now, track number 7, Burning. Well, and I forgot to mention, Love the Hell Out of You is also one of my highlights on the album. Now, track number 7, Burning. Lewis sings about a pain he's experiencing again and it feeling the same way as before. He feels foolish for falling in love with this person when his heart wasn't really in it to begin with. He feels as if this person dragged him down and now he feels stuck. Now, track number 8, Any Kind of Life, another one of my highlights. Lewis evokes a lot of emotions through his sharp vocals, and this is a song about being unable to imagine living a life without a certain person and how you can't see yourself moving on to loving someone new, because of how this person makes you feel. Now, track number 9, The Pretender. Lewis opens up about his mental health and his struggles with imposter syndrome. Now, track number 10, Lead Me Slowly, another one, well, the last of my highlights on the album. This is another notable high point in the album. The instrumentation here really makes the song stand out from the rest of the album in terms of sound. And this is a song about sensing that your partner is bound to break up with you, and you find yourself being in denial. So now that the relationship's fate is likely sealed, you wish to savor whatever time you have left with that person before they call it quits. Now, track number 11, How This Ends. Lewis sings about a love that has run its course, one that even if time could be reversed and the spark could be restored, it would inevitably die out. And lastly, track number 12, How I'm Feeling Now, the closing track. This introspective song works wonders as the closing track for the album, and this is a song about how Lewis's rising fame has taken a toll on his mental health. More on that in just a bit. So, Lewis actually released a documentary on Netflix around the time of this album's release. So now we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So the documentary is called How I'm Feeling Now. This documentary is titled after the album's closing track. This documentary chronicles Lewis's rapid rise to fame, which began back when his single Someone You Loved went on to become a smash hit in 2019. With his debut album seeing massive success, Lewis felt immense pressure and stress to live up to his fans' high expectations for his second album. Lewis opens up about his mental health struggles, which include anxiety, imposter syndrome, and Tourette's. His mental health ended up in such a dark place that both his team and family decided to halt the writing and recording of his sophomore album until Lewis felt well enough to focus his energy back on his career. As he experienced with his debut album, once Lewis released his new album, he realized just how many people connected with the songs he poured his blood, sweat, and tears into, and that naturally made him feel really good as an artist, but especially as a person. Now, my final overall thoughts on the album are that Lewis's vocals shine all throughout the album, as with his debut album. And while all the songs have their distinct charm to them, the album lacks variety in terms of sound. Some of the songs kind of blend together. That being said, this ballad-heavy album is a very delightful and enjoyable listening session. Now, when comparing with Lewis's discography, is this album their best to date? So, between his debut album, Divinely Uninspired to Hellish Intent, which was a stunning debut album, and this album, Broken by Desire to be Heavenly Sent, I believe that yes, this album is his best body of work to date. Simply put, the songs here are stronger, even though his debut album has his biggest two hits to date, Someone You Loved and Before You Go. Overall, this album feels more solid, more robust, and it makes for a better album. Now, what score do I give this album? I give it 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah, guys, that was my review for Broken by Desire to be Heavily Sent by Lewis Capaldi. Before I go, make sure to follow Pop and Bop on social media. It's at Pop and Bop on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Pop and Bop on Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, guys, this has been Pop and Bop. I'm Emilio Fernandez, and thank you so much for listening. Catch you next time.